to mention that Ross McCabe from Salesforce is unfortunately unable to join us today. However, my colleague Devinder Chauhan will be sitting in on behalf of Ross. So Devinder is our senior sales executive at makepositive and oversees the logistics vertical. So his knowledge of the logistics and supply chain industry is fairly extensive. We're also joined today by my colleague Richard Clark, CTO at makepositive. Richard will be delivering the demo today of our logistics proposition, which is built on Salesforce. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and type them into the questions box, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Yeah, we'll be happy to answer those. Okay, Devinder, do you want to kick off the webinar?
Great, thanks Mark. Morning everybody, thank you for joining the webinar. So as Mark introduced, we're here to talk about some of the challenges that we see in the supply chain industry and how we can turn some of those challenges into solutions to become a leading partner in the industry. So by way of agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about some of those trends in the industry, some of the challenges in the industry, and we really want to focus the majority of this webinar today on showing you a demonstration of the art of the possible and what best practice can look like in the logistics and in the supply chain industries. So we're a Platinum Salesforce partner. Salesforce.com is the leading enterprise cloud computing platform. Just to very quickly introduce Salesforce for those of you who don't know Salesforce, and for those of you who don't know cloud computing is really a paradigm that's shifted the software industry completely around. Cloud computing effectively means that organizations can take advantage of some of the latest innovation without the need for hardware, without the need for software, and without the need for managing things like upgrades. Salesforce has received a number of accolades because of this, one of those most notably being Forbes' most innovative company 4 years in a row now. This is why makepositive have chosen to partner with Salesforce, and this is the technology that we're going to show you in today's demonstration. So who are makepositive? Very briefly, you know, makepositive are a Platinum Salesforce consulting partner. We've delivered hundreds of projects over the years, and you know, we've delivered some very successful projects across all of the various areas of the Salesforce platform. This means that we've delivered projects into business divisions such as sales, customer service, marketing, and also on communities, which is the customer self-service and the customer portal aspect of Salesforce.com. And we've delivered this for organizations across various industries, but most notably for organizations in the logistics and the supply chain industry. Some of the organizations we've worked with here are on the screen. So we're not here today to really go into the detail of the projects that we've delivered for other customers and other organizations, but what we did want to talk about through our experience of working with such organizations is some of the challenges and some of the trends that we hear time and time again. One of the key things that we hear in the supply chain industry is how do we reduce costs from the business? How do we drive costs down by introducing efficiencies in our processes and by ensuring that the technology that supports those processes is scalable and is flexible? One of the key things that we hear is there's no central place to manage customer interactions. Supply chain organizations interact with customers on many, many different levels, whether it's through sales and relationship management, whether it's through customer service, whether it's through operations and planning. Each of those customer touch points typically uses a different view of that customer and typically uses different systems, and hence there's no joined up view of that customer across the organization, making it very, very difficult to serve that customer and to provide that customer with a consistent experience regardless of who they talk to within the organization. Ultimately, because information is siloed and disparate across multiple systems, it makes reporting across the organization extremely difficult, meaning there's no single view generally of revenues, pipeline, cost to serve individual customers, top performing markets, etc. Very, very difficult to report on those things without that single customer view and without that single set of systems across the business. And ultimately, yes, this all leads to no single customer view. So oftentimes customers speak to organizations such as, you know, some of the organisations that we've been working with. And depending on who that customer talks to, they often get a different experience. Again, information is siloed, and it really does impact upon the bottom line. It really impacts upon the experience the customer receives. And because of those inefficiencies across the business, because people tend to spend time chasing for information in order to provide that service to customers, it makes the cost to serve that customer much, much higher. So those are some of the typical challenges that we've seen in the logistics industry. So what we wanted to do was to talk to you a little bit more about what we're doing about those challenges and solutions that we've developed to overcome some of those challenges.
Thank you, Dev. So Richard here. So I'm going to talk to you now about Positive Contact. This is our solution for customer engagement in the cloud. Just going to, if you just make me the presenter, please, Mark. So don't worry, I've not got too many slides here. I'm going to focus mainly on demonstration. So we built a set of accelerators which we call Positive Contact to help with customer engagement and also with employee engagement, which is equally important. And we call this a demonstration environment where we've put this all together, Better PLC. So it's a fictitious company where we can show you the art of the possible. And then let's just do the demonstration that you're going to see today, and it's a living, breathing Salesforce org with all those solutions, and it's always evolving. So there's lots of things when I demonstrate this, lots of things I'm going to fly through really, really quickly, but it's just to give you a taste of the different things that your Salesforce or your potential Salesforce could look like. So I'm now going to do a brief demonstration of Better PLC in action. So throughout this demonstration, I'm going to introduce a number of different personas to demonstrate different stories as we go through. So I'm going to talk about Rick, who's someone who's talking about our brand, so from the marketing side, and they're going to interact with Monty in our marketing team. I'm then going to have one of our sales advisors and service advisors, Richard, interact with customers, both for the sales side of things and the contracts we want to win, understanding the deliveries that are going on and the orders that are coming in our pipeline, and people like Laura, who's a store manager or an area manager, in this case for Tesco. I'm going to finally finish, if we get time, with Bob, one of our drivers, who's using Salesforce One on his mobile device in his truck, and he can access the same information that we see here within the customer service and the sales parts of the organisation. Okay. Let's start off. I'm on Monty. Monty is running a campaign in Salesforce, but it's not a normal campaign. He's running a photo contest for lean supply chain. So he wants people to post a picture of their process or implementation strategy for improving their supply chain. And he's doing that for two reasons. One, because it helps him get new leads into the organization from social networks. It also shows Better PLC as an innovator in this space. And actually, it's not costing him much to run this. All he's doing is giving away a year's subscription to a weekly newspaper. We actually use this ourselves at Makepositive and use it to run a photo competition when we do events and win things like a GoPro camera and things like that. So although it might seem to some people to be very much a business-to-consumer gimmick, it's actually working really well for us in the business-to-business space. So we see here we've already had a couple of photo contest entries, and I can look at those entries, and I can look at them from both Instagram and Twitter. And all we've really got is this hashtag that I can listen to, and I can change the hashtag and listen to different conversations that are happening on social networks. And I want to moderate the entries that are coming in, so I can import pictures and accept those, and I can reward those users, and I can market to them. That's all great for lead generation. Let's think about how we might take that further. I'm going to skip to one of those contacts that we've just gained, Francesco. Francesco is someone who's entered one of our competitions. I've got details of his phone numbers, which is great, and I've got an email address. But I don't know anything else about him in terms of his Facebook or Twitter ID. If he talks about this on social networks, I don't know anything about him. I can't link those records together. I can socially profile Francesco to find out more information about him, and I can use his, any information I have about him, his phone number, his Twitter, his email. So I'm going to use his email in this case. We've got, for data protection reasons, a really good chance we've identified the right Francesco, 89%, but I also know he's quite a good clout score, he's quite active socially. I'm also getting information about the topics he's interested in, which I can use to market to him across those subjects. So I can attract him to events that are about the topics that he's most interested in. But I'm also getting demographic information. I now know things like his age range in terms of what content's appropriate or what events I run are appropriate. And I know what organisations he's worked at. He may have worked at a company that's an existing customer of ours. It makes that first call to him a lot easier if we share a common background or we've already performed work for a company he's already worked at. But most impressive of all, I've got all the different social networks he's active on. So wherever he talks about our company or whatever he's talking about, I can start to follow and listen in on the conversations he's having and understand more about him. That also means I can avoid duplication when it comes to registering on our website. Whatever channel he uses, his Google Plus account, his Hotmail account, his Twitter, Facebook, anything he uses, I can look at that information. And finally, I can see what his influence is on social networks. So he's got 1,200 followers on Twitter. He may want to be something I want to, he may be someone I want to attract and want to treat differently, even if he's not a current customer, whenever he gets in touch because of his social network. Okay. So let's now look at the sales side of things. So I'm going to switch user now. I'm going to switch to Richard here, and I'm in our logistics application here. And I've got the usual features in Salesforce. I've got my chat conversations, we've got awards going to Bob, our driver, I've got interactions with customers happening within the chatter feed from communities. I've got a list of accounts as well, and on those accounts I can see the information about them, and I'm going to look at Tesco's in particular. So as a salesperson, I can see information about our rating. At the moment, we've only got 3 out of 5, so we need to do something to improve our relationship. Customer satisfaction's amber at the moment. Here I have an account timeline, and on this timeline I've got a single customer view that's very easy to navigate, much easier than going through related lists on Salesforce. And I can go and I can look at all the information about previous phone calls. I can go listen to those phone calls if I have the right permission from New Voice Media. I can look at the orders that have been placed and drill through to those as well. I can see the schedule and frequency of all that information in a very simple form. I can see what the current orders are, activated or ordered by the order date. So I can see the most recent history without having to scroll. And I've also got the entitlement for support. This is Tesco Southwark Street. Tesco Southwark Street doesn't actually have a contract with us. The parent company does. And we can see here how the entitlement to support has been federated down from Tesco to all their different branch offices. So they're all treated the same way. They're all treated as part of the group. And obviously I can see details of the cases and the surveys that have been completed. Let's look further into the opportunities we have for Tesco's. I'm going to look at the parent company because they're the ones that signed the contract with us. Now within Tesco's here, I can see we've got a number of opportunities. And I'm going to look at the vacuum cleaner one because we already closed the TV deal with them. So here I want to supply the whole of the Tesco extra retail stores with the better PLC handheld vacs, which we're shipping. I've got a number of products on that and a quantity that's going to be shipped throughout the contract duration. I can send a proposal or a quote to Tesco, and I can send that with DocuSign that's been created. I can see the quote here's already been created. I can do a send with DocuSign, so it's got an electronic signature. Rather than go through all of that, I'm going to quickly flick to the Blue Peter, here's one I did earlier. And we're going to look at Laura, who's already received that contract, and she can review that document, review that proposal, and sign it electronically. Here we go. I'm just going to insert a signature now. Okay. So what else can we do? Well, let's go back to our advisor here. That's all great, being able to do the opportunities, but what I really want to know is what's my forecast? How is my team performing? So we see here my individual forecast. I've got a quota of 100,000 to do here, personally. And I can see how we're performing against, we've already closed £23,000 of that business, 48,000 in commit, and we've got a small pipeline. And I can look at that across the months ahead to see where that's coming from. And as we'd expect, this month we've already closed some business, we've still got some business to close, but most of the demand seems to be in August. It looks like there's a peak coming up, not surprisingly. That's great in revenue, but what I'm really interested in is the quantity. How much space do we have? What capacity do we have in our network? So I can see that we've closed 1,096 shipments, be them pallets or dollies or anything else if you want to track. And I can see what we've got committed for August. But actually we've got very little coming up for the rest of the year, so we need to tackle that. I can look at that as my forecast, but I can also look at it as a team forecast. So James has a team here, so I can see how each of these individual salespeople are doing against their own quotas as well, and how the whole team is performing. If I'm interested in one particular number, I can drill down into that number to look at what comprises it. So I can see why we've got this 2,000 stuck at commit, and I can see there's two opportunities here, one for Tesco and one for Acme. I can see the owners of those, and I can see more information. That's great in terms of booked revenue and booked orders, but I also want to see information about my shipments over the year. I want to know how much load we have. So I'm going to look at some reports in Salesforce. So here I've got a dashboard about the revenue by month, and you can see that revenue is increasing, which is exactly what we'd want to see. But I can also see on this dashboard a penetration by the products or the services that we perform. And against these few sample customers, I can see that we're doing really well with social accounts. We've got a good variety of products that we're providing to them, a good variety of services, and for Jackie Smith Industries. But we're not doing so well on things like Hayes Galleria. We're only doing 2 of our services. There's clearly room for upsell and cross-sell within that account. I can see here how I'm doing in terms of the shipments. Now, this isn't just the booked revenue. This is actually the schedule, the forecast for shipments through the year if we closed all those deals. And we can see that we're reaching the capacity we want to reach, but we're tailing off towards next year. We need to make sure we're getting that work in. And obviously, the revenue curve is, not surprisingly, following that, and we're making probably better margins during peak periods. I can also see when orders are being closed, when they're being placed with us. So we seem to have a spike happening in August at the moment, not surprisingly, again, with a peak coming up. And how are we doing about our performance this month? Well, we need to do a bit more work, but as it's only the 15th of July, I think we're going to make it into the green. Finally, while I'm in sales, I do want to know how our delivery service is performing. So I've got a simple RAG status of seeing for the deliveries we've recently performed, how many were on time, and how many were late, and how many involved penalties or claims against us. That completes the sales side of the demonstration. I'm now going to switch into service mode. So I'm going to change into a console application. So I'm now going to switch into Salesforce Service Cloud Console. Just wait for that to load. I'm going to go to a list of the cases we've received. Now we can get cases in from multiple channels. We can get them from our website, from Facebook, from Twitter, email, and phone calls, of course. Now what I'm going to do is mimic a phone call from Laura. Laura recently became a customer at Tesco, and we've decided in Better that when a customer is new, the cost of acquisition, it's more important to impress them at the start than try and rescue the deal later. So Laura's just going to call in to our contact centre to check the whereabouts of her last order. I'm also just going to log into live chat here. So we see if we've got live chat, and I'm logged into New Voice Media here on the phone call. And what we should see is a screen pop that will identify the inbound number Laura comes from. It may be her number's blocked, and she may have to enter that number via our IVR menu. Obviously, we can also do that. So I'll just dial in now, and I'll put myself on loudspeaker.
Please note that this call may be recorded. Good morning, and thank you for calling Better PLC. We recognise that you're a new customer to Better PLC, and we are now putting you through to the correct team. Thank you.
Okay, so I've just taken that call on another phone now. We see the screen has popped to the account record to Tesco's. Equally, I could pop it to Laura's own personal details if I wanted to, or I could go directly to the order in which she's inquiring about. I can interact with Laura on the phone now, and I can create a case in Salesforce to capture those details. But what I'm going to do first is just look at the information that she's asked for. She's interested in order 128. That's the one she's expecting to be delivered today. She wants to know where it is. It was actually due for delivery 2 days ago, so we want to find out what's happened. I can see details of the order. I can see details of the products that are on that involving Laura's account. I see details of the, sorry, I've just clicked the wrong link, beg your pardon. I can see details of the delivery that's on. And I can see the driver of that, and I can contact Guy if I wanted, and I can see details of the vehicle and its current capacity. Within that vehicle, I'm going to look and see what its current position is on the last record that's been inserted into Salesforce. Now, I wouldn't keep all vehicle position in Salesforce, but certainly you'd want to keep the last 7 days, for example. And I can zoom into that and look at information and wonder what the hell Guy's doing in London when he's supposed to be in Manchester doing this delivery. Okay. So we've solved Laura's problem. We've created a case for her, potentially. We've captured that detail. And then ultimately what we do is we end that call. We want to capture survey information from Laura about her performance, about the experience she's received in customer service. So I'm just going to release that call and we'll hear the rest of the conversation.
Thank you for choosing to take this survey. Was your reason for calling resolved today? Press 1 for yes or 2 for no. Please press 1 to leave further feedback, 2 to request that a manager calls you back, or 3 to submit your survey.
Okay, I'll just hang that up.
Thank you for completing our survey. Goodbye.
Okay, and what we could have also done there is we could have asked a question about customer satisfaction rather than just was she happy or not. We could get a customer satisfaction score from 1 to 10, and we can use that to profile stats across the different customer service interactions. We can interact with our customers and get them to give feedback on our drivers as well and their performance, or when they come into our depots or wherever they interact with our staff. That's all great, but what about a user who can interact with us directly? What about self-serve? So I'm just on James here. I'm just going to log in as Laura. She's logging into the customer community here. And within the community here, she can interact with fellow customers who we let them interact with, or maybe she can just interact with other people from Tesco's about the service they're receiving. She can also initiate a live chat if she wants with our services team, and it can be about a previous case. So again, we don't have to ask her to do too much. We've even got a video chat option here as well, but I'm not going to demonstrate that today. She can see information about all the cases that she's raised and the ones that are currently open, and she can interact with those and provide further feedback, further information, attach receipts, photos, information about any claims or complaints that she has. She can also review the contracts that are in place. So again, we can interact with her when those contracts are due renewal and take place in terms of the negotiation of those contracts. And obviously the orders that are pending for her as well. She can see those orders for herself and access them, update them, cancel them within reason, within the rules you want to set in the system. But also she can track all her deliveries. Laura is actually an area manager, not just the store manager of Tesco Southwark Street. So she's got access to multiple stores where she can see for each of those stores all the deliveries that are available for it. And within those trucks that are heading towards the sites that she manages, she can see the products that are on that truck that relate to her shipments. Finally, when we profile our customers, we want to make sure they're happy. So we make sure that they receive an interaction with us, that they can give us feedback within the email. Rather than do that as a separate survey, what we do is use a happy or not banner at the bottom of our emails to our customers, so they can just very quickly press a happy face or an unhappy face, because we find it gets a much higher rate of return for surveys than it does if we do it as a separate email. We can also use this within a tablet, within a screen in a depot, and let customers click faces according to it and leave feedback anonymously, like you've probably seen at airports and train stations. So let's head back to the Service Cloud console, and I'll explain a few of the extra accelerators we have here. So we saw the call here with New Voice Media, where we're able to make calls and receive calls. I can click to dial to ring Jackie back. Ring Laura back anytime I want to. I can, let me just stop that. There we go. I can see information about the previous case history for Tesco's as well. What are we doing? How many complaints, how many claims are they raising, how many questions? So I've got an idea of the cost of that account. I can also profile things like the revenue that we have from them as well. I can look at the cases that we've got currently open with them and what status they're at. So we've got quite a lot of new ones, quite a lot of closed ones. We're not actually giving them a great service at the moment. There's too many that are open. I can also have information about penetration within our services, a bit more information. Where are they spending most of their budget with us? At the moment, it's mainly within the warehousing side. I've got no refrigerated services here. I'm probably missing out on a service for them, unless unknown to me that Tesco don't need any refrigerated deliveries. I can also link in information from other systems within my company. So I can bring in recent transactions that have come in. These aren't held within Salesforce. These have come in from our ERP system. So I've got financial transactions about payments that have been received on that account. Looking on the left-hand side, as I said earlier, we've got information about customer satisfaction and rating. I've also got information about the surveys, the account timelines, locations, etc. When I look at a case, I've got further information that I want to dive into. So we've got a complaint here. And I can see the milestone timer on this case. So it's an SLA that I'm offering that customer, and I can see how we're performing to that. So we need to get this resolved within the next 8 hours, or we'll be breaching the SLA. I've got access to knowledge articles within here as well. So I can look at information about our claims process all within the one system. I can give that information to a customer. I can email it to them or tell them over the phone the information that's available. Okay. I've also got information about the sentiment of a case. So I can look at the description. Torn a bloody great hole out the side of our loading bay. Yeah, not surprising that's negative, but that's not something I've set manually. That's something that's been calculated automatically, and I can prioritize those calls to the most negative ones and deal with the positive ones maybe at less time. I can also measure the financial cost of any compensation that's been given, and I can also record the time we spend on a case and look at the cost by agent to work out the cost to serve as well. Finally, we also want to look at our performance of agents. So let's see what James can do in that space, our service manager. I'm just going to log out of Laura's details here. So we're back in Salesforce. We want to look at the service performance of our team. So James has access to the service dashboard. Now here we have information from New Voice Media about our call stats. We haven't had to go away and get a separate report of our telephony system. We've got information in here. We know where the calls are mainly coming from, which numbers are given in most of our calls. And we can do that graphically and obviously in a table. I'm also looking at the performance of my call plan in New Voice Media. So I'm seeing here that most of our calls are coming in, 60% of our calls are coming into sales. That's more what I want to see. 25% are coming into service. I'm quite happy with that. But we're also getting 4% of our calls to VIP agents, so special account managers, where we route calls to because we know who that account is managed by. I also got information around the call time history, the amount of time I spend on each call for each day, and which of our advisors are the busiest. In the middle, I've got insights information. So I'm working at my net promoter score based on those customer survey results we're getting, the 1 to 9s, etc. And I'm getting those across multiple channels. I'm getting them from web, I'm getting them from live chat, I'm getting them from phone, I'm getting them from all those different ones, and happy or not. And I'm looking at the information by role, so I can see the call center isn't doing as well as our sales team in terms of their survey results. I can look at information, again, by category, and I can look at satisfaction levels on a heat map across different countries. I can even zoom into that heat map and see more information. And obviously at a UK level, I probably want to go to the next level down and look at by town, by county, by region, maybe even by depot. Obviously, we've also got the usual insight information for cases here as well. So I've got information about the cases by channel. And I've got information about cases by the root cause. What's the main reason we're getting cases in? And then making sure that we're closing them by channel as well. That's good for looking back, but I want to see real-time information. So I'm going to look at our dashboard. So we've got a component called a wallboard, and on this wallboard we have on the left-hand side how each of our advisors are doing. Now this has been set up for service, but it can be used equally for a sales team. And we see here our advisors get less and less happy as they get towards the bottom of our leaderboard. That is a pure accident, but I'm very pleased it worked out that way. We've also got information about the different channels we've chosen to show here in terms of the number of open cases for each channel. And we've got a RAG status about those channels according to the thresholds we want to set. So I'm not happy we've got 25 emails left open. So I want to put maybe more advisors tackling the backlog of emails and less working on machine-to-machine information coming in from the product or equipment. I've got only 2 open cases on Live Agent. I'm probably quite happy with that, but again, I might want to switch someone in terms of focusing on Live Agent to focus on emails. But all my agents could potentially be omni-channel. They could all answer calls across any channel. So I just want to make sure they're picking the right cases to answer. Underneath that, we've got information. In this case, I've chosen to show a complaint. Again, you can segment your team by channels. You can segment your service team by the types of cases that have been raised. And here we've done that. So this is the complaints wallboard. And this all runs within a smart TV within the company. You don't need to add any computers or any special equipment to it. This will just keep running all day. And we see we've got real-time information here about the time left for that case. And if I create a new case, I'll switch back to our advisor for a second. For time's sake, what I'll do is I'll just clone this previous case. And if I'm really quick at switching over, we'll see the number of cases increase. There we go. So that was a web case, went up. And we've got a new timer clock running. We've got 15 minutes to hit the response on that. And if we don't, it's going to go red. So let's avoid it going red. Let's avoid the claim. And while I've got SLAs in here, these could equally be orders or deliveries that we're tracking within here, delivery on time. On the right-hand side, I want this team to be motivated as part of the wider company. So I want them to see, as a company in this case, how many cases have we closed, how many unread tweets, how many unread Facebook messages. Again, just really a view across how the whole company is performing. That's great for people in the contact center and the sales team. We also want to look at our other employees. What about our poor driver, Bob, out in the field? Bob's out, he's using Salesforce 1 on his tablet. He's got access to the delivery information that he's got to make and his performance. He's got also information that's relevant in terms of vehicle capacity and how fully loaded that vehicle is. So unfortunately, we're not getting full shipments out at the moment. We're not utilising that space. He also wants the information about the accounts that he's accessing. So when he turns up at Tesco, he wants to know where the loading bay is, so he doesn't have to stop out the front and drive around the back. And he can find information about those. We've given him access to that. He can see within the feed here, there's information about the servicing and the ground floor access. And I've already opened that here, and you can see where he needs to access that site and any special rules about access or entry or any codes for doors, etc., what the protocol is. He can also see information related to that account. So if he knows he's going to be delayed, he can proactively contact the customer himself. So he can ring Laura without going through the contact center and passing the message, so we can manage her expectation. He can also, on Salesforce 1, upload photos. He can use the mobile features of his device. So we can take pictures of any damaged goods or property on site, and that will assist with any claims that are made. And our managers can alert you through that through chat notifications before any SLA breaches or whether an incident has occurred. Okay, so I know that was a really fast run through the demonstration. What we'd like to do with you, if we'd like to get you to have a deeper dive with us and look at some of these and how some of these features resonate with you and the problems that you face. Because hopefully not everyone has all the same problems, but some of that will be relevant. In terms of what we've got available, this wasn't a smoke and mirrors demonstration. This is stuff we built because our customers were asking us to build it in the past. And what we've done is harvest that, take the best bits across all industries, and bring together a set of accelerators we can use to deliver faster. So this includes things like new voice media integration, the omni-channel customer engagement, the social profiling we saw in the photo competition, and those custom components, those charts and graphs within the Salesforce Service Cloud console. The wallboard we saw there as well is very flexible, components can be shifted in and out. And also things like live chat, the templates for that. And there's lots more that I haven't shown you. We've got the community enhancements. We've got things like PayPal integration if you're more a retailer. Internet of Things, if you've got equipment and you've got information you want to send into Salesforce as a case, again, machine to machine, the Internet of Things is very, very easy to accomplish. And we saw things like the happy or not. We've also got things like a loyalty app, probably less relevant to the supply chain industry, but if you wanted to, again, the loyalty app people can run on their phone, they can connect to you from any mechanism on their mobile, and we can track their position if we want to. We've also got information around coming up this year. We've got accelerators on value segments, around CPQ integration. If you have a complex quoting function, you want to do configure price quote, integration with products such as Steelbrick, Aptus, Chameleon, CloudSense, any of the major CPQ tools on the platform. Workforce optimization is a key one. It's good enough. We've got workforce management, but workforce optimization is a goal that all of us are seeking to do. And we're also going to be doing some work around marketing and analytics cloud. So I'm just going to open up to questions. Mark, have there been any questions that have come in?
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for that. No, we haven't. I've got a few here, actually. Okay, so one of the questions we received was, can you confirm that you're able to see the forecast demand of planned deliveries, including both pipeline and confirmed orders?
Right, let me just go back to that part of the demo. So yes is the answer. I'll go back to my logistics application. So normal Salesforce collaborative forecasting will show you the booked orders. It doesn't show you the schedule. But when I go onto the reports, we're able to do that. So when I look at this forecast revenue and quantity, I'm looking at the information that's scheduled there. And I'm going to just drill down to show that. So we've got this. I'm just going to show the details, information by month. Sorry, I haven't got any details on there. Let me just put the opportunity name in there and we can see that. I'll just rerun that report. Okay. That's always the questions that catch you out. Let me just pick any opportunity I've looked at already. Let's look at the VAX one I did earlier. So within here we've got our products. We've got our pallet delivery, and this has been enabled for revenue and quantity scheduling. And I can change that and adapt it according to what's happening. I can either re-establish the schedule or I can edit it. And this is just standard Salesforce. All I've done is create the report that we need. And if we know that the peak's going to move and goods need to be shipped earlier, again, that can be adjusted, and that will adjust in the reports. So yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Yes, we've got another one. We currently use Force.com. Is any of this functionality available on Force, or would we need to upgrade to Service or Sales Cloud?
Okay, so good question. So obviously the forecasting, the order stuff is all Sales Cloud. I was using the Service Console. But you can use things like the accounts timeline. So you can use the timeline here on the App Exchange, and you can definitely reuse this for any object. It's configurable and can work for anyone, whether on Force.com, Sales Cloud, or Service Cloud. That's definitely something where you can get your single customer view. Some of our other components, the graphical ones, the case management, although Case is Service Cloud, you may have your own object, be it issue or tracker, anything like that. Again, some of those components we can reuse to embed within the page as well. We can do things like the sentiment analysis that happens in the back end. So yes, what we'd advise is the customer contacts us directly, and we'll discuss with them the elements that are suitable for reuse.
Okay, great. I've got another one here for you, Rich. Do you provide the integration with our delivery system for free?
If only. So if we could package it, and if everyone had the same parcel tracking systems and supply chain and ERP systems, we would. But we need to consider that on a case-by-case basis. Each customer may already have systems in place, and may already have the middleware in place to connect systems. So we have to look at each one on a case-by-case basis. So typically on a project, we'll do a discovery with you about which accelerators make sense to kickstart the project. We'll implement with you, whether it's a greenfield implementation or an existing Salesforce instance, the change we want to make. And we'll go through that discovery and work out the integration and build the solution. Typically, that could be as few as 5 days, it could be 20 days, I would say 200 days. I've never seen 200 days for an implementation, for an integration. So it's going to be in that range. It's going to be 5 to 20, 30 days at the outset effort normally to integrate the systems.
Great. And one last one. Can I port my claims application to Salesforce?
Yeah, actually we've done that for a number of customers who Dav showed on the slide earlier. So that can be as simple as creating a force.com object, a custom tab within Salesforce, like actually I've done here for deliveries. So this is just a custom application, a custom tab I've developed. And depending on the amount of code you need, that can be something that can be done in a few days, or it could be done in a couple of weeks.
Great. Okay, that wraps up the questions. That was very informative, Richard. Thanks. Thanks for the demo.
Oh no, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you everyone. We appreciate you joining us today. We've ended it slightly shy of the 1 hour, but I hope that was informative, and I hope that it answered many of your questions. Please do get in touch with us if you have any further questions, and Devinder will be happy to help you out. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.